Crazy story, but it's true. I'm a retired veteran, United States Navy. I'm also on disability, and I've been single for a number of years after getting into and out of and into and out of and blah blah blah, wheelchairs and surgeries and all kinds of craziness. Anyway, so I'm hanging out one morning, doing my morning ritual, having some coffee, reading my Bible, praying and all that, and it finally hit me after being heartbroken and single for so long. Uh, I was finally okay being single. Like I was literally like ready to be single the rest of my life, and so I'm praying, and I was like, God, you know what? I'm cool. Like I got nothing to complain about. Um, I'm happy. I got a roof over my head. I got a car that runs. I got everything I need, and I'm happy to be single. If that's what you want, I'm cool with it. And I said, but if you need me to be married, Lord, I'll get married again. But and anytime you say "but" to God, there's probably going to be some issues. Anyhow, I said, but God, I got four things, just four, that are requests. Like if you really want me to get married, I'll get married again. But I'm not gonna go looking. Like I'm not gonna go hunting through every church in town looking for a real born again Christian woman because they're pretty doggone rare. There's a lot of people who call themselves Christians but aren't, and at least not by the biblical definition anyway. So as an ordained minister, it's kind of a prerequisite. So I'm sure he was cool with that, and I said, so that's two conditions right there. She's got to be born again, and I'm not going to go hunting for her. And because of my health issues and my dietary restrictions, she can't be obese because I can't have junk food in the house of any kind. And my willpower ends at the grocery store checkout. So if I can make it home with no junk food, I'm fine. And then I was thinking for about half a second. I said, you know, I'm not gonna go dating. Like I don't want to date. Like I'm not gonna go through all that mess. Like if you want me to be married, if it's genuinely your will, then you have to deliver her right here to me. Like I'm not gonna, go on blind dates and blah blah blah. Like she's got to literally show up right here, and I'm sitting in the exact same spot where I was when I prayed that prayer. And 2 days later, my next door neighbor calls me, and I'm at the gym, and she says, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm at the gym." And she says, she's Korean. She says, "You come home now." I'm like, "What?" Like, "You come home now." And I'm thinking, water heater blew up or the house is on fire. I got no idea. She won't tell me. And she just hung up the phone. So I got on my bike and left the gym and came home. And my bike's kind of loud. So, they heard it when I pulled up. And there was like 8 cars parked at her house right next door to mine. And most of them I had recognized. And I pull up and they hear my bike, and all these Korean women come rushing out onto the deck, like 25 feet away from where I parked my motorcycle. And they're all smiling and, like, "Come here, come here, come here." And I'm like, okay. So I get my helmet off and threw my gym bag down and just walked next door. And I kick off my shoes to walk in the house. And right in front of me, sitting at the end of a love seat on the far end, is this gal I'd never met before. I recognized all the other gals. Like I'd seen them at least a couple times over the years. But this gal I'd never seen before. And she just looks up and she smiles. And this crazy old lady, I call her Crazy K. Uh, at the time, she didn't have any teeth. She's got some new ones now, but Crazy Toothless K is sitting to my, right over my left shoulder on the sofa. And she's, showing me this toothless grin, and she points to the empty seat on the love seat next to this gal I'd never met before. She says, "You sit there and talk to her." I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to talk about? Well, she doesn't speak a lick of English, and I don't know a lick of Korean. So Crazy K helps us get this stuff, the software, the apps loaded on our phones so we can talk back and forth with the translator. And um, I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to talk about. And Kay's trying to help the conversation along a little Well, I look up across the living room in the kitchen area, and there's my neighbor and two of her friends, and they're all in the kitchen like this, and that's what Koreans do. They don't want to be rude and whisper, so they cover their mouth, so allegedly you don't know that you're whispering. But anyway, and they're in there laughing and giggling, and snickering and smiling and whispering, and I figured it out that this was a setup. Like I literally just got press ganged. I'm shanghaied, right? And so I throw this gal on the back of my bike and put my leather coat on her and put my helmet on her. Then I go grab my other helmet and a jacket, and we ride down the hill to this Italian restaurant. And we had, you know, eating some really good pasta, and we're, just getting to know each other using this little app, and we're talking or we're texting for the translating app, and just showing the screens to each other and swapping our phones back and forth, and not really talking, because the translators aren't perfect. So you don't want to screw up something and have them say something inappropriate, because they do. Those little translate apps aren't perfect. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's embarrassing, but we got to know each other. At the end of the night, I brought her back and delivered her next door, and we swapped phone numbers, and we start texting back and forth with this Korean social media app. It's sort of like Facebook Messenger, but way better, and it translates for you, and it also installs software in your phone that if you let it, it'll translate on all your apps, like your text messages, your emails. It'll translate anything. So we're getting to know each other over the couple of months, and it just kind of dawns on us that we're supposed to get married. Well, then she gets diagnosed with a vaccine injury, and she has to have her a heart valve replaced because it was shredded with spike protein. It just ate the valve alive, and so we kind of pushed up our plans and got married ahead of schedule, so she could be covered under my military insurance and her employer's insurance. And we got married, and I had a cancer surgery, and then 10 days later we got married, and then 11 days later was her surgery, and then I spent 6 months taking care of her, getting her back on her feet, back to work. But yeah, so like this whole trad wife thing that I guess is a thing. I have what you would call it, an Asian trad wife, and I didn't even know what that whole movement thing is. I know the American girls are mad about it, and a bunch of fake videos on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook of all these women who have never actually been trad wives or claiming they were, and got left and treated badly and dumped, and all their money taken from, and yada yada. That's all just feminist propaganda. If you get her, my wife is amazing, right? She is an amazing cook. And that's she had a restaurant in Korea that she sold to come here, and she had a pretty rough go of it when she first got here. Things were not good. I'm not going to get into detail about that, because if I do, YouTube will censor it. But so yeah, but now I'm telling you what, we have a really great life. She is an amazing woman. We still don't speak to each other very much without the translators. We've developed, we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary, and we've developed our own kind of language. Like nonverbal communication is a big part of it, and keywords, and we're learning to communicate, and we do okay. But I tell you, it's impossible to fight. Like, we've never had a fight ever. Like, it's too much trouble to fight using a translator app on your phone. But we do discuss things, and we talk about things a lot, and about issues that come up, and we deal with them. And but there's never any like heated conversations. It's always calm, and because that's just, it's logical, and Koreans are very logical people, unlike Americans. But so it's like I didn't have to go to Korea to find a traditional wife who cooks and cleans and is hardworking. She goes to work She gets up for work at 2:40 every morning to be at work at 5. She makes her own breakfast and packs it and takes it with her. She juices every morning. She packs her lunch, and she comes home, and she cooks dinner. I mean, I cook a lot. I really do. When she calls to say she's coming home, and she sounds really tired, I'll throw something together. Um, and I'm a good cook. I've been cooking my whole adult life. In both my previous marriages, I did most of the cooking, and so we eat well, and we save a lot of money doing it because we shop at the Asian markets, and our food's healthy because we shop at the Asian markets. So I mean, it's this whole trad wife thing. I guess I have a trad wife. I mean, we're older, obviously. I'm retired, and she's old enough to retire, but she's not going to yet. Uh, she wants to pay off a bunch of debts that she incurred just to get here, and we'll sell this house and buy something somewhere else that fits better. But like, if you're gonna get a Korean wife, all right? You have to realize some things. That number one, you have to have more than one refrigerator, probably more than one freezer. And in my case, I now have a regular side by side refrigerator freezer. I have the largest available upright freezer that will fit through a regular, 36-inch residential front door. They don't sell one any bigger than that. That's not commercial. And I have not one, but two specialty programmable kimchi refrigerators. So, if you want a Korean wife, refrigeration's a big deal. You're going to have a custom refrigerator for your kimchi, and which is amazing, by the way. It's one of the healthiest things you can stick in your pie hole. So you got to get used to shoes by your front door. You'll be tripping over them. It doesn't matter what kind of organizational method you use. You can have you can take your entire closet, by the front door. If you've got an entry closet, you can fill it full of shoe racks and shelves and boxes and bins. You're still going to have shoes on the floor by the front door. You'll just have to get used to it. As soon as they come into the door, the shoes come off literally, like before they get off the welcome mat. They slip out of their shoes and they walk out of them and leave them right there. So you're gonna have to get used to that. You're gonna have to get used to eating healthy food. You're gonna have to get used to eating spicy food. Like, you guys in England, the United Kingdom, that don't know what flavorful food is. You're gonna have a hard time adapting because their food's got flavor and spice, and a lot of it's hot. So you'll have to get used to that. You're going to have to get used to buying things in bulk. When she wants to make kimchi, it's 100 pounds of cabbage. The big, tall Napa cabbages. She buys a minimum of 2 cases at a time. And it takes over your house. Like, we don't have a big house. I got a small house. So when we move, we're getting someplace bigger just to make kimchi and to have room for all the refrigeration. But so it's been a lesson in adaptation. Being retired Navy, there's no culture shock for me. And she'd already kind of gone through her. She'd visited the United States a few times before she moved here, and she has a lot of family here. She's got family here in our state. She's got family on the East Coast. I think she's got family, a couple of cousins on the West Coast. So she's not completely alone here, and she's a member and a deaconess in training at her Baptist church. It's all Korean, which we attend together because they have a translation service. And her church family is amazing. They're great people. There's a couple that lives it's about 20-mile drive for us, but there's a couple that lives a couple miles away, like about 2.5 miles away. And we're pretty close with them, and developing a good friendship with them. And they're Korean and retired Army. So yeah, like every dude, every American guy in that church is former military except one, and he did like some reserve duty at one point. But the rest of us are all either combat vet or retired. So I'm not alone, and it's been an adjustment. But this, to get on the trad wife subject, get back on that subject. I know the younger generations of Asians aren't the same as they were, for my generation and older. I get it. They've suffered, a lot of westernization. A lot of their culture has been polluted with America, unfortunately. They got America syndrome, but their parents, I'm talking to you young guys, the parents of Asian gals your age are still pretty traditional, and there's still a lot of racism in Asia, mostly in one country in particular, who treated my wife's people horribly before and during World War II. And that culture is different. It's their racism is it's not as big a deal as you would think. It's not as difficult to overcome. And of course, my wife's people, there is a little bit of racism against certain people, but it's dissolved pretty quickly. If you're a man of good character, they look past it really quick. Like it's not really a thing. Like they don't care what color you are, they don't care what country you're from. If you're in South Korea and you're on the street and you're hungry and you're lost, and you've got nowhere, somebody's going to take care of you. They're going to take you in, give you a hot bowl of soup and pull you in out of the rain and try to help you get your bearings. Okay, because that's just how they are. They're compassionate people. And with the atrocities that they suffered during World War II, which makes the German Holocausts much less of a deal in comparison. Not saying the German Holocaust wasn't horrific, but the Korean Holocaust was even worse. But for what they've been through, and what they've lived through, they're an amazingly open people. And if you're looking for a good wife, you could do a lot worse than finding a good South Korean girl and treating her right. My wife is as loyal as they come. It's incredible. After the two hells that I went through in previous marriages, I didn't think this was possible. It's a whole different thing. And she's, her sense of humor is amazing. She's fast to laugh, quick to listen, slow to speak. She's everything the Bible says a woman should be. And you won't necessarily find that with all Korean women, but finding a good Christian Korean woman is not that difficult. I just prayed and mine showed up. I don't know what to tell you. If you're a Christian man and you're looking for a good Christian wife that's not going to fight and argue and throw the independence card all the time, and constantly nagging and just being the typical American woman of the 21st century, you can't go wrong if you find you a good Christian Korean gal. I promise, if you're a real Christian, like I've been a Christian of one form or another my whole adult life and way back into my childhood, but I didn't get born again till very late in life, and there's a difference between a Christian and a born again Christian. But if you're a born again dude looking for a born again gal that hasn't been spoiled and tainted and poisoned in the mind by Western feminism. Excuse me. You could do a lot worse. A buddy of mine, a friend of mine, he married a gal he met while on missions. I believe she's from Indonesia, and she's amazing. Love her to death. I know, all the gals in my wife's church. They're all awesome. Um, it, it's You don't have to go to Asia to get a good wife if you're a Christian. You just got to find you a Korean church. My wife's a Korean Southern Baptist, and I hate to say this term, but I identify mostly with the Southern Baptists. Of course, me being a highly educated, minister with years and years and years of schooling, with all kinds of papers with my name on them saying that I've accomplished this and that. I don't agree 100% with any denomination or group, because they have all got issues. And the sad part is I know where the issues came from. I studied enough history to know who did what, when, and where to cause the church to be the mess that it's in right now. But it was predicted. It had to happen. But Southern Baptists are closest aligned doctrinally with my beliefs. And it's weird because the Korean Southern Baptists are not like the American Southern Baptists. They're a lot different. But my trad wife experience is that I didn't even know a trad wife was a thing when God sent my trad wife to me. And it's been an incredible journey. Despite our health issues, which mine are constant, continuous, and repeatable over and over and over again for the last 35 years. I'm happy. I was happy before she came into my life, and I'm even happier now. It's like God, before I was born, God prepared her. She's older than I am, so she was born first. And it's like God, not only made her for me before I was born, but everything that she went through to get here at just this moment in time, and for God to deliver her less than 48 hours after I prayed that prayer, and everything falling into place the way that it did. It's just mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. So you guys, you born again guys, and if you really need a wife or want a wife, pray about it. And I'm not telling you how to pray. That's between you and God. But it wasn't until I was ready to be single, and I was happy to be single. I was just happy and joyful to be alone with God every day, to do my own thing, to not be beholden to anybody, not be responsible for anybody else. To not have this drive to find a woman that consumes us throughout our younger years, that God actually thought I was ready, and he answered my prayer precisely. Some days I joke around. I say maybe I should have been a little bit more specific, like please let her speak the same language. but then he probably would have answered that, and I wouldn't have been as happy. The language difficulty is not that big of a barrier. It seems daunting at first, but me being a very patient man and my wife being a very patient woman, it's really not that big a deal. The hardest problem we have is communicating away from each other. If you can use the text app and it works fine, but it doesn't always get delivered in time, and it's not always accurate, and it can be frustrating to try to reword it so that the app, can get your thoughts across accurately. But after a year, we've been able to get enough keywords down. Like she'll call me before she leaves work and say, "Honey, me, church, pray, home." Right? So I know that she's going to stop at the church to pray on her way home. Now she uses different words. She says, "Honey, me, churchy, amen, home." Amen means she's going to pray. Which I think is cute, because Koreans say amen at the end of their prayers. They don't have a Korean word for amen. So they just adopted that one. So like if she'll tell me if she's going to stop at the store, or whether she's going to go to the Korean market, or stop at the doctor's, the hospital. We can communicate using keywords to understand. And I bought her a new car. Well, she's paying for it. I put all the money down, paid all the taxes up front. It's in my name, but she wanted to make the payments, so okay, you can make the payments. So we went out and got a car it's a Korean car. We got our Hyundai, the new Elantra hybrid, and it's a really good car. I did some research on it. It's a good car for the money. You can't beat it, and good grief, the gas mileage is insane. But the great thing about it, one of the reasons we got a Hyundai, is because it's got multiple languages built in, and Korean is its first language. So all the controls, the navigation, everything in the car is Korean. So it's much easier for her to drive, considering all new cars now are high tech and touch screen, menu driven, blah blah blah. Trying to teach her how to use a car that doesn't have Korean as an option is difficult. I mean, I know that some of the newer cars have some language options, but being a native Korean car for a native Korean woman, it's much better. I think the Toyota, has a Korean option, and it's not so hot. It's got its issues, which she tried, and it was just way too difficult. So, yeah, the language thing is a bit of a barrier. When I go to drive the car, I got to change it all back, and then not remember to change it all back for her, because she can't navigate the English menus to get it back into Korean. But yeah, guys, don't let language be a barrier. Don't let that stand in your way. Whether it's Korean, Indonesian, Japanese, Spanish, Romanian, anywhere in the world that you, before I say that, you got to understand that when you marry a foreign wife, that you can't push her to become American, right? You've got to adapt. Their culture is different enough. You gotta, they come here and nothing is friendly to them. The street signs aren't friendly to them. The menus in restaurants aren't friendly to them. Everything, everywhere they go, they're around people who don't understand them. They don't understand the people. None of the signs for businesses or street names or anything is friendly to them. And so you can't immediately expect her to adapt to a foreign world. That's literally, it's like being from another planet for them. So if you're not a patient guy, sorry, you're not going to do well, and you're going to do a disservice to her. If you're not ready to, help translate things as simple as a drive-through menu, or help her find her way through a hospital, when she needs to go, then that's a foreign bride is probably not for you. Because I pick her up from work, I take her to the hospital for appointments and tests, I help translate, I take her back to work, and I drive all the way home, One appointment at the Air Force Hospital, which is the closest military facility to us. I drive 14 miles to pick her up, 22 miles across the city, and then drive around in the base, and then drive her 22 miles back to work and 14 miles back home. It's a lot of driving. It's a pain in the butt. But without it, she's lost. Like, she went one time without me when I was out of town taking care of another family emergency. And luckily, somebody from the church is familiar with getting on and off base and knows the hospital. They volunteered their time to get her on and off the base and through the hospital and help translate for her. They had some difficulties because there was multiple appointments in the system, and they ended up going to the wrong one. But we got it all worked out, and everything was fine. But you're not just, if you're going to marry a foreigner, you got to understand that you're not just a husband, right? Sometimes you have to be a dad, even if you don't have kids, because that's what it's like. My mom actually told me one day that she was worried that sometimes she thinks I talk to my wife like she's a child. And I said, yeah, I know, and it's not intentional, but you got to understand, someone who can't speak your language and can't understand your language, that you literally have to take by the hand and walk them through, normal everyday things. It's the same thing. You're raising a child. She's just an adult, which makes it a lot easier, but the processes are still the same. So, you've got to be willing to make the sacrifice of time. If she's South Korean, you got to make the sacrifice of buying extra refrigerators. The sacrifice of tripping over shoes. The sacrifice of, at least for my wife anyway, that chick's got a lot of clothes. I mean, that's all she brought with her when she came here, was these 4 giant suitcases full of clothes. And that's what she brought with her from Korea. And she loves her clothes. But what woman doesn't? I mean, and shoes. Man, that woman. One of her aunts died. The older of the two that were living on the East Coast, and they're the same size. So the younger of the two got stuck having to, deal with her estate. And she's a little bit smaller than my wife, and they're the same age. But so a lot of the clothes didn't fit her aunt, her surviving aunt. So my wife got the bulk of her clothes, the deceased aunt's clothes, and coats. This woman had a fetish for coats and handbags, and I now have a room that has a double bar clothes rod. It's a travel rack with 2 staggered rows of hanger bars, and it's completely full. And there's 2 stacks of coats and another box somewhere that we haven't even gone through yet. And her clothes literally consume one room of the house. Like, you can't get to anything else in her room. So, yeah, foreign women are different, and most of the ways they're different are good. And when you compare them to, crazy American feminists, they're way different and way better. And I'm not cracking on American women. I've loved many of them in my many years, and I still love a lot of them. I love my daughters. Of course, they're not. Only one of them is my real daughters. My other daughter is Hungarian. That's my son's wife, and my other daughter is, of course, my Korean daughter, which is mind-boggling because she's drop-dead gorgeous, guys. She's in her 40s, and I kid you not, when I first met her, I thought she was 26. My wife don't look her age either. That's the beauty of Asian women. Oh, and they don't grow hair like American and European women either. Oh my gosh. Uh, my wife doesn't even own a razor. She doesn't need one. There's no need for her to shave anything, um, which is struck me as weird at first. It took me a second to learn that not all women need to shave their legs and armpits and stuff. And of course, the increasing number of American women don't, because they think they're something else than what they are. But we won't get into that. But yeah, you guys wanting trad wives, stop calling them trad wives. Just stop the whole conversation. Because American women, all they're going to do is, it's going to make them worse, if that were even possible. So, just ignore the whole trad wife thing. If you want a foreign bride, more power to you. I encourage you to do so for your own psychological well-being, to live a happy life, to have the wife and kids and the house and the car and the white picket fence. And the American dream unfortunately has to be outsourced, like everything else in this country. And yeah, that's a thing. Outsource your wife. There's a good way to put it. And good luck to you. My prayers are with you, young men. I know it's not easy out there, but you don't have to necessarily, save up thousands of dollars and spend months or years traveling overseas looking for a good woman. They're right here. There's a lot of them. There are a lot of women who have come here for a lot of reasons. My wife came here because her entire working life, she wasn't contributing to the National Retirement Fund, because she was self-employed. When she didn't have a restaurant, she worked in the food markets. It was mostly cash. She paid her taxes, but she didn't pay into the retirement thing, because it works different over there. So, I believe it's managed by the employers and not by the government. And so it's like Social Security, but it's just different. And I'm not sure of all the ways it's different. But so she came to America to hurry up and get her credits in order to be eligible for Social Security, so she didn't have to live in a locker and sit on a milk crate in the food markets, selling donuts or whatever when she's in her 80s, which she would do. I mean, holy cow, does this woman work? I mean, the work ethic is insane in Asia versus America. I mean, there's no work ethic left in this country. And, but man, in Asia, it's insane, especially in Korea. Well, Japan too. Japanese professional culture and Koreans are very, very, very much the same. It's very competitive. Like my Korean grandson, he's always stressed out about school because it's so competitive. And the business world is very competitive. And the marketplaces are competitive. It's a very competitive culture because they never want to go back to the way they were. They know the only way to do that is to work hard, which is why South Korea is a gold mine for men that want hardworking, traditional value women with traditional values. It's a gold mine. Again, the younger generation's slipping, but don't be afraid to marry an older gal. My wife's older. I mean, not a little. And she still looks great. She's as agile as a monkey, flexible. She'll sit here on the couch and she'll reach down and grab her feet straight-legged and lift her feet up in the air to stretch and do all kinds of crazy moves to stretch out. I'm like, I couldn't do that when I was 13. I sure can't do it now. Other than that heart valve thing, she's in amazing shape. And she goes and goes and goes and goes. I can't even begin to tell you how much work she did this weekend. She Friday night she's up prepping the cabbage. Saturday she's making the kimchi. She's making gochujang, and she made a bunch of side dishes, and I mean, it's just go, 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 go. Then we ran here and ran there, and all day long it was something. And she was up till 10 o'clock, and then she was up at 6 the next Sunday morning, packaging up some kimchi to take to folks at church and some other stuff. She served lunch at the church because Korean Southern Baptists, they eat a meal together after every service. So if you're hungry and you ain't got no food, there's a hint for you. But she's just an unstoppable force, and I'm blessed to have her. So you young guys, don't give up hope. Pray. If you think you need a wife, pray. Be whole as a single man first. That's the best advice I can give you. Be whole. Be complete. Marriage is not 50-50. It's 100-100. You put in 100%. She puts in 100%. You come together as whole, complete people. A broken person with a broken person makes a broken relationship. But two people who are whole in Christ, that's what God will bless. And if you believe that that's what God wants for you, that your life is to be married, don't give up hope. You don't have to go overseas. I've already given you the map. I gave you a treasure map. All you got to do is follow it. And be ready, because when God answers prayer, it's not a dribble. It's a deluge, man. He straight hit me with a tidal wave. Completely unexpected. But he's funny like that. His sense of humor is so next level. We can't even begin to understand it. So, good luck. Stay strapped or get clapped. Don't give up hope. Pray your way to success. I'm not talking about business success. I'm talking about success in life. Put God first. He'll make the woman for you. I mean, it's literally what he did for me. He knit her together in her mother's womb before I was even born, before I was even conceived, before it was even possible for me to be. And her journey, it was a tough one to get here. My journey was a tough one to get here. And God put us together at just the right time, for such a time as this. And believe me, guys, things are about to get a lot worse. I'm a Bible scholar. I can't help it. I got to tell the truth. But, I'm glad I had my kids young, because I definitely wouldn't want to raise kids today. And, man, as many grandkids as I've got, I do my fair share of worrying. But stay strong, stay faithful, and stay true to yourself.